This is Outside the Booth.
Now Wheel off of the giveaway makes it 2-0.
With Charlie Davies.
The confusion between Henry Kessler and Andrew Farrell. They get it to Brandon by, then Matt Polster is surrounded. It's a bad ball, bad decision, and the quick shot from that distance.
And Brad Feldman.
Turner beaten to the far post, but you're not going to blame the goalkeeper when you give the ball away in the middle of the park. It's just sooner or later it's going to get rammed right back down the pipe.
This is Outside the Booth.
Well, those highlights cut up by our excellent producer Matt Morrell pretty much summarize Saturday's matinee in Music City, a 2-0 loss. But we'll get into that in a minute. First, I want to welcome everybody who's listening and welcome Charlie Davies. Charlie, how are you this Monday early afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Brad. How are you?
You want me to be honest and not give the showbiz answer? I'm on fumes. Our Maine Coon cat got out of the house in our new urban dwelling for the first time, unfamiliar surroundings, in the middle of the night. The security camera caught him leaving. It was my bad. I put in a letter in the mailbox late at night, sending my great aunt a 90th birthday card. I thought I was doing a good deed. This guy's smart. He's sly. He slipped out. Long story short, the neighbors found him at 8 a.m., but Liz and I were up late looking. We had posters made up. We were walking around with flashlights, and food in the rain. And so I did get some sleep, but I'm a bit punch drunk, which is no different from a usual show. But I just want, since you ask, I'm even more loopy than my usual self for this.
Okay.
But yeah, all's well that ends well. So I'm going to first invite everybody to call in 855-728-7500 or at us on Twitter at Revs TV. We are expecting to be joined by Richie Williams, Revolution first assistant coach in the second half hour. We'll get Bruce Arena's post-game thoughts. We'll get Charlie's analysis, your questions, all that good stuff, and look ahead to the Philadelphia and Columbus games. This is a twofer since we have two games before the next show. Charlie, I'm going to start with the glass half full since we already heard the second goal on the lead-in. If you want the good news, it's that the Revs are still tied on points for first place in the Eastern Conference on 7 with the NYC FC. But other than, you could say that the Revs had chances to equalize in that game, and they did,
right.
Or pull a goal back. But that said, that wasn't a great look for about 70% of that match to me.
Yeah, you're right. And I also look at Arnar Tristansen's pass to Adam Buxa for the goal.
Could have been a goal.
You look at Chicharito's goal, and it's almost identical in where the players were positioned. So Chicharito looks to be a tad offside. The referee keeps his flag down, allows the goal to count because it's not clear and obvious that it was off.
And you're supposed to give the advantage to the attacking player.
Yes. So my question is, where's the consistency when Arnold Tristansen is maybe a kneecap off?
Maybe. Depending on the angle of the camera, right? So
right. Why is the flag going up?
I'm with you.
I'm pretty sure for the past at least two seasons, the AR has been told to keep the flag down when it's that close.
Right. And then there are other instances where they wait to put it up, and it's I think the Revs got hard done to by the referees. And
the penalty
and the penalty,
the
which for me that's a good shout for a penalty. I agree with what Arena said. If that's not a video review decision there, where you see the guy pull an attacking player back while he's about to get on the ball in the penalty area right in front of goal, what is? So that said, the Revs still played kind of lousy when they did. They had moments where they created, but there weren't enough of them. You think of the Buxa header. You had the Tristansen shot early in the game. You had the Buxa header in the first half. You had the goal that was chalked off for offside. There was the Buxa post, and then there was the Buxa penalty claim. So, their expected goals were below 1, but those are, if you add up, that's 3.5 chances to me,
right?
Out of 5 scoring opportunities, and so on another day, if it goes to 1-1, it's a different game. Do you think that's being too kind to the Revs, despite their some really bad passing and their inability to get Gustavo Bo involved?
Well, it's early on in the season, and the Revs have had a positive start. I think when you have such a great game against Atlanta United and you switch the personnel and the formation, that's typically kind of what you get because you're not playing the same way that you had.
But you're going on the road, Charlie, right? It's a different game.
Of course, but you're not. I don't think you're doing any favors by changing the formation and the play and changing a player or two. So you're tweaking what was kind of the winning method so early on in the season, where you're trying to build that chemistry and the camaraderie and the passing sequences. All of a sudden, it's all right. We're changing it up, and I think that combined with playing on the road against a hungry Nashville team made it a very difficult proposition for the Revolution.
Because there was not one guy for Nashville where you'd say, "Oh, that guy is lighting them up." But collectively, I thought
they never have been that way.
Yeah, they're not a star-driven team. No. Dax McCarty, for an older player who has to do a lot of work and running, really impressed me. And his reward was a soccer ball being blasted off him. That was actually the high point of the broadcast, right? Where you asked me if I'd ever seen that before. I said,
yeah.
In my world, yeah, that kind of stuff happens all the time. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that the good news is, and you talked about it in the post-game show, Charlie, is there's now a quick turnaround. They play again in 2 nights, and it's a big game. As strong as Philly has been, Charlie, they haven't gotten off to a great start in the league, right? Like they're not lighting it up. You know, they were fortunate probably in some ways, or bailed out by their goalkeepers is the right way to put it, in the Champions League stuff against Atlanta in the first leg. Philly is below the playoff line right now. One win, 2 draws and 1 loss. 1 win, 1 draw and 2 losses, depending on which site you go to. You get the standings in different formats. But they're still a good team, despite losing Brendan Aronson and Mark McKenzie, right? They still have Montero, Fontana, a pretty stern central defense in Elliott and Glesnes, right? Ray Gaddis is gone too. Got to give props to Ray Gaddis. He was one of my favorite Revs opponents just because of the way he handled himself. You know what I mean? Low-key, great pro, not a star. Credit to the league. And probably a bigger loss for them than they realized. But, you know, it is still the Supporter Shield winners, defending Supporter Shield winners. And so the question is, Charlie, do you think that Bruce Arena heeds your call and shifts tactics, or do you think he says, use that system, just play better?
I think he changes the system. And it's clear to me that the team seems more comfortable and better suited when he did play with the 2 deep-lying midfielders. Whether you call them 2 6s or 1 6 and 1 8, there's 2 players who are protecting the back 4 with Carlos Gil as the 10. And I think what opens up the Revolution is when you have Carlos Gil in that advanced position centrally, he's more involved in the play. You want your best player more involved in the play. And when he does move around, he's causing Philadelphia to shift their midfield. Their whole midfield will move because of Carlos Gil. And I think when you have that kind of attention, you're creating so many gaps and holes for other players to have success. And I think, frankly, when Carlos Gil is in that position, I don't think there's a team that can stop him. And I don't think there's a team that can really stop the Revs from getting opportunities.
Certainly looked that way in the Atlanta game. And in the Atlanta game, he wasn't roughed up quite as much as he had been against Chicago and D.C., and and maybe that's positional because certainly, Sosa is a tough customer in the middle, but he couldn't get near Carlos. Like everybody talks about that sort of viral moment, the GIF where he skins him and breaks his ankles.
Oof.
But but that's late in the game and people are tired. But for most of the game, he couldn't get around Carlos Gil because he was sort of. I mean, it may have to do with the formation. I don't know if I'm Bruce Arena again, just playing counterpoint. What I'm thinking going to the Nashville game is, I got to get La Pantera, involved, and B, you're trying to get what you perceive as your best 11 on the pitch. So we've talked about it. It's a bit of a Rubik's cube, and the odd man out was Brandon Bye, which seemed harsh considering, he had the goal, and other than taking down an opposing player for a penalty, had a very good game against Atlanta. But Tajon didn't really get involved in the attack because of the way that game, when he was at right back, the way that game progressed. So it ended up being sort of, subtraction by addition, if you will, and the same thing that happened in the Columbus game, maybe for different reasons, but like the link between Heel and Bo was nearly non-existent.
Well, this is for me. When I look at Gustavo Bo, he came in to the Revolution team and just was on fire. What position was he playing? He was playing the left attacking wing position,
right,
where he would just come inside. That's the position that suits him best, because he's not relied on for his defense. He's not relied on for, building out of the back or creating. It's literally coming inside, combining with a Carlos Heel, who would be centrally, or with Adam Buksa, but having that free roll on the left side, knowing he's going to come inside to his right foot. I just think when you have 4-2-3-1 and you allow Arnor Traustason and Gustavo Bo to battle for that position, if that's your two top players for that one spot, that's going to, I think, really breathe that spirit, the competitive spirit within the team, and push those two to always be at their best. And if you drop off, it's the next guy's opportunity. When you have Carlos Heel, Adam Buksa,
or even if you have 3 games in 8 days, I think then you can rotate the squad, even if somebody has a strong game, especially the older players. But horses for courses, as Paul Mariner
but that's where he's
used
had
to say.
My thing is Gustavo Bo has had the most success in that position.
Yeah, no doubt. And that position is available, right? If you push Tajon to the right wing or Teal to the right wing, move Carlos inside. I think Cap Toom's time is coming in the middle of the park sooner rather than later. I'm looking at the pass matrix from Saturday. Heel and Bo only connected pass-wise twice in 90 minutes.
There you go. And think about it from this perspective as well. Nashville, okay, Carlos Heel is playing on the right. We have Daniel Lovitz on the left. He's going to come inside. Great. We're just going to fly Lovitz down the left. And Tajon Buchanan is an attacking player. He's at right back. There's going to be a disconnect.
Right.
And they took advantage of it, and that's where the first goal came from.
Right.
From that same 100%, pocket.
100%.
So.
And Lovitz has improved, over slowly but surely. He's better than people give him credit for, I think. And that was a good ball he delivered to Zimmerman. Like Zimmerman, because Zimmerman is Defender of the Year, a U.S. national team, sort of a, splashy. As defenders go in this league, he's had sort of a rock star image. But, good knockdown. But that doesn't happen without the 40-yard angled, precision angled ball with the right foot by the left-footed Daniel Lovitz. So, it's a good goal. We're looking at it now, and wow, yeah. You start Baji and CJ Sapong. I think that threw him a little bit of curveball too. Smart by Gary Smith.
It did.
Gary Smith, may have said, okay, so 3 out of 4 games he's played the 4-4-2, or 2 out of 3 games coming in. I bet you on the road he reverts to that. You think that was the thinking?
I think the thinking was, we're going to get the most out of our team with Dom Baji and CJ Sapong up top, because I think when you look at the options they had, was Cadiz is just too one-dimensional. He can't give you much. He really can't. Whereas CJ and Dom are more about, let's spread them out. Let's get in behind. Maybe they're going to play higher up. Maybe expected the Revs to be a little bit more aggressive. And then they'd be able to expose them in behind playing balls, which they did. So I think they just caused havoc. They were good at holding the ball up. I think CJ Sapong, like we said during the broadcast, he's always going to impact the game. He might not get, the stats, the goals and assists, but because he makes the right runs, he's strong, he gives defenders a lot of problems, and he did that for the Revolution.
All right, let's hear Bruce Arena's post-game thoughts after the Nashville game from his press conference briefly.
Tough game. I thought we were thoroughly outplayed in the first 30 minutes of the game. I thought the second half we played much better. We needed to get a break. I think we had a chance to make things interesting at the end when Buksa was taken down in the box. And I have no idea why they have VAR if they can't use that technology to correct the mistake. So, but having said that, give Nashville credit. I think they're a deserving winner today.
Yeah. That's that in 30 seconds. I think that he summed it up. The thing that gets me, and I know sometimes, you practice the patterns of play. These guys are very skilled. Even the least skilled guy in an MLS game, it can, complete 99 out of 100 passes when he's not under pressure. But the number of times in first the Chicago game and then the next road game, this one on Saturday, where guys on the flanks play square balls towards the middle, you're better off just stepping over and letting them have a throw-in so you have a second to get your team behind the ball. You just can't make that pass if there's no support there. Kessler and Farrell look bad, but that's an invitation to tear the defense to pieces. And the fact that they've only given away 2 goals in those 2 games off of those situations, to me, is a good outcome. You know what I mean? Honestly, if you give the ball away in that part, and I don't have the stats on how many I could think of off the top of my head 4 bad passes like that in the Nashville game. And the fact that only led to 1 goal, that means that the defense and the goalkeeper bailed you out.
Right.
So there you go. They got to stop doing it. Here's a question for Matt Morrell. 98.5 HD2. How do you get it on the radio? You need an HD radio, correct? And you can also stream it on your mobile device.
You can also stream it on the mobile device from the 98.5 app.
The 98.5 app will allow you to stream it. And how you get that into your car radio, Trevor, who asks this question, is that's your business. I'm not, you can use Bluetooth, you can use a hard wire, it depends on your car. Or maybe you have an HD radio, but I'm guessing you don't if you're asking that question. But yes, 98.5 HD2, because of the game conflict, will be the carrier on Wednesday night. But yeah, we welcome those kinds of broadcasting questions, and you heard me last week on the kickoff times. I'm here for that, right? That's that's what I do. Did Nina have a nice Mother's Day?
Yeah, it was relaxed. The boys had t-ball in the morning,
nice.
And then she wanted me to run through soccer training sessions. So,
oh, okay,
there you go.
You're there for that. That's what.
Yeah.
You're like that. I can do.
Yeah, I got you.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's good. They're good to see the boys.
Do you do anything special for that?
Yeah. So my family's vaxxed now, so we went over to my parents and had a backyard get together. And my brother and his wife. Miriam's overseas, but she was able to sort of call in and talk to the moms, and yeah, it was a happy occasion for Liz and my mother, and I think we were all grateful. It's the first time I've been able to hug my mother in a year, like 15 months or something like that. So it was pretty groovy. You start to you do start to be grateful for things you took for granted, for sure. And
right.
So yeah, it felt like actual Mother's Day, normal Mother's Day. So yeah, thanks for asking. So yeah, well, what do you think about Philly? Do you think they're a degraded side from the one that the Revs didn't get it right in 4 tries against Philly until the playoffs, and then they really jumped them in November and when it counted. But do you think that you look at their regular season record and the fact that they could have easily lost that first leg to Atlanta in the Champions League and say they're not what they were, or do you think that the Revs have to still be very careful?
No, the Revs still have to be very careful. This is a team that has an identity. They have a culture. They have most of their 9 of their 11 starters back from last year. You lose Brandon Aronson, you lose Mark McKenzie's. Those are 2 massive pieces, but they still have a very talented team. A lot of young players now who are waiting for the chance to succeed and fill those shoes left by McKenzie and Aronson. So you have to watch out for them. Kasper Shabilko and Sergio Santos, they're 2 strikers that can hurt you. So Andrew Farrell, Kessler, whether it's Brandon Bai or Tejan, I would assume it's going to be Brandon Bai, and the left back position is it Dewan, is it Mafla? That I think that's still up for grabs. And then the defensive midfielders, is it 2 or 1? Because this is a Philly team that we saw last year. They jammed the middle. Carlos Heel destroyed them last year. They're ready. They're chomping at the bit to kind of get revenge at the Revs from last year in the playoffs. And Andre Blake is the only keeper that outplayed Matt Turner last year for goalkeeper of the year. So
Andre Blake, by the way, and Andre Blake, we saw him getting beaten on the video there, but he has consistently, until that game in the playoffs, flummoxed and thwarted the Revs attack. I haven't seen any guy since Tim Howard was in the league who made just the kind of astonishing saves. And sometimes you say, oh, well, maybe he's a little out of position. He rescued himself. But that's not, he's gotten pretty, he's pretty savvy. He's not a perfect goalkeeper. But when it comes to shot stopping, and we heap a lot of praise on Matt Turner quite rightly. Turner made a great save, by the way, in that game that didn't end up registering as one because of the offside flag.
All right.
But Blake pulls the ball out of the net when he appears beaten. You know what I mean? Like, he pulls it before it crosses the line. Like, the ball's behind him, and he somehow flexes his back and stretches across the whole mouth of the goal.
I've seen it one too many times in training.
Yeah. Well, it's better. It's better in training when he's your teammate than when, for years. Right out of the gate, Philly had the Revs number. Now, it was a down cycle for the Revs. 2010, 2011, but. Then he came in mid-decade, and when it looked like the Revs were starting to, regain some primacy in that series when you were playing, 14, 15. But then Blake comes in, and it changed the math, quite honestly, because those were not great Philly teams. No offense to you, but when you were there,
they weren't.
He rescued points for them and against the Revs in particular. And since they're going to Philly, I have to bring it up again. If anybody has the YouTube video of the Marko Perovic free kick, where I believe it Seitz or McMath who was in goal, and it hit a divot and ricocheted into the goal, and there's two guys videoing their own big TV screen, and I swear it was like Billy Crystal and Christopher Guest, and I can't believe I didn't rip it and download it somehow, because it's like, I don't want to insult the people who did it. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They're talking about Perovic's nationality and specialists and special tours, and it was just it's magic. I don't even want to do an impression because we have to unearth this video because it's the greatest moment in Revolution broadcasting history. The other one related to Philly, and I was going to try to dig it out, but the cat went missing. When Jim Curtin, the Philly head coach, was at Chicago, I think it was his rookie year, and they were playing in Naperville, and it was pouring rain. And Jim Curtin now wears his hair close cropped, but he used to grow it out pretty shaggy.
Yeah, I remember the shaggy.
Yeah, but then it rained, and Adrian Healy, our esteemed colleague, who is now the voice of the Austin club and also of ESPN, he said something to the effect of, they did a cutaway to Curtin. He said, it looks as if Jim Curtin has a small dead animal living on his head.
No.
It was fantastic. Revolution Nation appreciated that because, Curtin, for all his gentleman Jim affects, used to rough up Taylor Twellman along with C.J. Brown, something. And I love Taylor's comment, with this whole Gabriel Heinze, Jim Curtin flap after the Champions League and supposed time wasting by Santos and everything, where Taylor said, I can tell you from firsthand experience that Curtin did not say anything behind Heinze's back, that when they spoke post-game that he made his own, as nice a guy as he is, he does not hide his feelings. Would you concur with that, Charlie?
Yes, I would concur with that. So
I think it's good for soccer. I like having other Eastern Conference coaches feuding. It's good. It's
that's the kind of league we want. Exciting. We want competitive spirit. We want the coaches to kind of come out of their shells and be who they are. And Jim Curtin is as nice a guy as he is off the field, on the pitch. You didn't want any of it.
Nice until he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So along those lines, we're only 4 games into the season. What's surprising you, And, what teams, I don't think anybody is surprised to see Seattle, maybe LA Galaxy and Chicharito. Minnesota 0-4 and people crying for Heath's head. That I think is a surprise. Yeah. Out west, they're more, I think, you got to feel for Austin, who's been competitive in all 4 of their games, losing late in the game to Kansas City down a man. But any teams in the East that are outstripping expectations or not?
I'd say Montreal looks a little bit better than I thought they would.
Yeah. Yep. They have 5 points.
And it seems like Gerhard Struber looks to have understood New York Red Bull and Red Bulls and how they're going to play. Caden Clark looks the part so far. I think Frankie Amaya was a great addition, a player they needed, a little creativity in the attacking third. So that would probably be something that sticks out to me.
Yeah, fair enough. It's tight in the East. NYCFC and New England tied on 7 points. And you have 3 teams, Red Bulls, Orlando, Nashville on 6. Columbus, Atlanta, Montreal, Miami knotted up on either side of the playoff line at 5. Philadelphia right behind them. Then D.C., who are going to, they're going to have a learning curve. Let's put it that way. Toronto, who's adding to their squad, Charlie. Like, that's the thing. They're down, but they may not be down for long.
We'll see what Jefferson Soteldo can bring, but from all accounts, he is a player that can create magic. Tricky. He has that Brazilian flair and swag to him. He's low center of gravity, strong. So I'm really interested to see how that kind of unfolds with Toronto FC, because you still have to figure out Akinola. Josie's been healthy, hasn't been healthy. Where is his motivation? Is he going to be coming in to try and stake a claim with the U.S. men's national team, or is he kind of just I'm just going to play out
the horses left the barn? Yeah.
We'll see. Michael Bradley, another player who has to prove himself to get into the U.S. men's national team. It sounds weird to say that about Michael Bradley, but with the emergence of Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams and Gio Reyna, the midfield's stacked. And it's all younger players with no experience, but they're all balling in Europe. So Michael Bradley has to kind of ramp up his performances with Toronto.
Fair enough. All right, we'll step out for a couple minutes, but on the other side of the break, Richie Williams expected to join us. Stay there.
Bring the joy.
And he does a handspring and flip. And why not? Flip your wig, Tajon.
Bring the passion.
Carlos Heel with an exquisite strike. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous goal.
Bring the fight.
Thinks about a shot, takes a shot, and scores the game winner.
Catch the New England Revolution as they take on the Philadelphia Union Wednesday, May 12th at 7:30 p.m. on WBZ TV, TV 38, MyRITV, and right here on 98.5 The Sports Zone.
Dan O'Brien here to let you know that Dan O'Brien Auto Group is a proud sponsor of Gillette Stadium and all the awesome events that take place here. Speaking of awesome, when you buy your new or pre-owned vehicle from the Dan O'Brien Automotive Group, you get our exclusive Awesome Protection Plan. That's 1 year of maintenance, 1 year of paintless dent repair, free safety inspections for you and your entire household for as long as you own the car, and our exclusive awesome lifetime warranty. Come get yours today. Dan O'Brien Auto Group, keeping it awesome. Log on now to DanO'BrienAutoGroup.com.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Today is the day to take power forward in a sustainable way, because today, Gillette Stadium is powered by renewable energy, just like the Revolution. With Enel as their official energy partner, you can power your business, vehicles, and cities with clean energy. Together, let's create a greater power, a power that generates new opportunities from sustainable solutions to deliver benefits for your business and your community. Take your power forward. Discover Enel at Enel.com.
This is Outside the Booth with Charlie Davies and Brad Feldman.
All right, we are back, and Charlie's getting down. Look at that. Yeah, no, we put those tracks on just to.
It pumps me up. It pumps me up.
Yeah, me too. On a normal day, I'd be right there with you. But I already explained my situation. Yeah, running on fumes. Quick, quick break, and in a little while we'll look forward to the Columbus game as well. The players and the coaches have to take it one game at a time, but we don't. Right. Our focus won't be blurred by taking in two games at once. But it is an important stretch. If you look at their next two opponents, you have the defending Supporters Shield champions and you have the defending MLS Cup champions, and we're only 6 months on from the end of last season. Right. Both teams have a different character. We've talked in the past about how Caleb Porter has never followed up a winning season with a good one, but that's going to be a nationally televised game, and the first time in a while the Revs had a home game on ESPN, but they've, by adding Kevin Molino, it looks like they've strengthened an already strong team, and so. That's not going to be an easy game, even though the Revs return to the friendly confines of Gillette Stadium.
Well, there's no doubt they strengthened a already dominant team in Major League Soccer. And I think this early part of the year, it's also the back and forth with the CCL and trying to win that and pursue that. We've seen that kind of derail teams to start a year, whether it's injuries or just the inconsistency. But I'm willing to bet come late summer, this team is going to be hitting that fifth gear, and that's when you're really going to see, whoa, this Columbus team is dynamic, and they have a lot of tools. Bradley Wright Phillips can come off the bench for Jossie Zardes. You have players who can make a difference. Kevin Molino, Pedro Santos, Derek Etienne Jr., and Lucas Laran is special, just like Carlos Gil, just in a different way.
Yeah.
He's much more, I think, aggressive with his attacks towards goal. But I mean, for the Revolution, you beat Atlanta and you beat them soundly. It didn't really show in the scoreline, but the game, no doubt, dominated play. You lose to Nashville, it can kind of shake a team. If you want to continue to say, hey, we're the best team in the Eastern Conference, these two matches against Philadelphia and Columbus are massive. I know it's early in the year and it doesn't mean anything necessarily in the long run, but if you want to build a culture within this team, but also a belief, these games are massive.
Do you think we're going to see a game soon where you have Arnor Traustason, Wilfried Kaptoum, and Christian Mafla on the field starting a game at the same time? I think the latter two have come in and had some fitness issues with injuries in the preseason, and they've been getting him minutes with Revs 2 and so forth. But really, the team that was constructed in the offseason, the additions that were meant to augment an already strong group that made it to the conference final last year for the Revs, they haven't all been out there together, fully fit and from the start of a match.
Well, I would assume that at one point we're going to see all three starting together. But what we did see in that 4-4-2 is Maciel and Polster didn't play well together in a 4-4-2 where their responsibility is box to box. That was apparent to me. So I think for the next month or so, they're going to be trying to figure out how do we get the most out of Kaptoum, Maciel, Polster, Heel, and McNamara in the midfield, making sure they get the best pairing. And I think that comes down to moving Carlos Gil back into the center of the pitch as a number 10 and having two players behind him who can cover those spaces when he does move to the left or right. And one of those midfielders are going to have to move into that space to disrupt the other team.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Promise me that you won't put Richie too much on the spot when we talk.
No, I would never. I love Richie. No way.
I just saw a listener in the comments say that Bruce said post-game that he didn't think it was the formation that caused the problems. And that's been his mantra, not just with the Revs, but his entire career, that the formations are just sort of provide some structure and then the players got to play. But
formation, To a degree, I'm like, okay, I understand. But we've seen across the world, the game has evolved, and formations do play an important role, whether it's defensively or in the attacking phase of the game. I think defensively, you saw that's not going to fly. That formation is not going to fly for this Revs team defensively.
Yeah, well, with that 11 out there, I think that it's hard to argue. Maciel looked like a different player against Nashville than he did against Atlanta the previous match. It certainly looked out. He wasn't terrible, but he was under pressure a lot more of the time. Like, they were right up in his shirt. And, Polster was clean until he wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, again, like, there are always breakdowns that lead to the breakdowns. Mm-hmm. So he was put into a bad spot. But like I said, it looks terrible. But if you're boxed in, like, I don't know. What do you think? You just, do you try to play it up the line, or you just play it, and hope that somebody gets a touch on it so you get it out of bounds? Like, I don't know. It's hard to. I'm not going to criticize particular instances because you're not out there. You can't see it. The pictures that the player sees. That's not the formation, though, right? I guess what I'm saying is that maybe the formation leads to him being under pressure in that situation.
Well, formation is where players are.
Yeah, but he was all the way pushed over to the touchline almost.
Right. So, I mean, where's Carlos Gil in a 4-2-3-1 if he's the 10 versus a 4-4-2 and he's the right midfielder? And then where does that leave the Revs exposed on the transition? I mean, those are basic formulas when you're talking about tactics and formations. That's why people play with different formations. That's why you've seen a revolution in Europe with this 3-5-2 sometimes, a 3-4-3, because formations make a difference. It clearly is an important part of the game, where players move, how they move, when they're in the attacking phase of the game versus and look at what Pep Guardiola has done, revolutionizing Manchester City, Barcelona. It started with Barcelona, but Manchester City, where they're not relying on Sergio Aguero anymore. They don't need a 9 because they can play a false 9 because of that system. And you have to have the right players. There wouldn't
be tactics blogs and coaching conventions and it provides a structure for the players. It provides a platform, a set of instructions. It also provides limitations. So you say, all right, well, you're playing higher up. If you're Gustavo Bo, you do not track back. You stay, you lead the line, right? Whereas if he's ostensibly a midfielder or a winger, then you say, all right, this is a different set of responsibilities. And if the player doesn't abide by them, then he's coming off, right? So that's how the coach imposes the tactics. But some of these guys who have, whether it's a Gil or a Bo, we've seen given a free role to roam within limits.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at like a Jermaine Jones, that's a player who can play box to box because he has different qualities than just being a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder. He can kind of do it all. So when you play with
He's an 8.5.
Right. When you play with 2 central midfielders, they have to be able to do X amount more than your typical, attacking midfielder or your defensive midfielder. Yeah, it's all about player personnel. And when looking at this roster and the depth where it is, I think that's why I keep going back to that formation, the 4-2-3-1, because you have a number of players where you're going to get the most out of them as opposed to the 4-4-2.
Carter writes and says there's been a couple of different shifts in personnel, midfield and fullback. Who's impressed us the most and who has left a little bit to be desired? Wouldn't you think a consistent starting 11 might be more beneficial? Well, what I'll say is I'll answer the last question first. I don't think you can do that with 3 games in 8 days. I also think, like we were just talking about, some of the fitness issues with Tristison coming in and having to, they have to get him fully fit, but he can't go the full 90 yet. Kaptoum and Maciel and Mafla all sort of getting back from injuries, and even though they're minor injuries and so forth. So yeah, ideally you could play the same 11 all the way through. But one of the reasons why the Revs have loaded up and have a depth chart is so they can deal with injuries and fixture congestion. I think some guys have been up and down. Like DeJuan Jones has had a couple good games, and one that in particular the Chicago game where he got off to a terrible start. I want to see Mafla. Like I want to see DeJuan on the field. I think he's great for the Revs, but like let's see some 90 minutes of Mafla a couple times.
Right.
I want to see a lot more Kaptoum. I want to see Gustavo Bo, the same Gustavo Bo that we saw, in the playoffs last year and in the second half of 2019 when he first arrived. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I would like to see what Kaptoum and Maciel look like together, playing behind a Carlos Heel in the 10 role. That intrigues me because of how much possession. All three are clean on the ball. They are comfortable under pressure. And I think seeing Gustavo Bo in that left wing position where we saw him when he came in the team 2019, he looked really comfortable coming inside and combining. That's where they got the most out of him. I also was impressed with Brendan Bye this year. So keeping Brendan Bye on the pitch to allow him to continue to evolve and develop in the attacking phase of the game, because defensively, I think he's been fantastic. He's been spot on. It's just losing the ball in transition or poor decision-making in the final third. It looks like he's solved a lot of those problems. So I want to see him get more time. I think I've been really impressed with, especially in the Atlanta game. But, I think Adam Buxa, trying to get him more involved.
Yeah.
I think he looks the part with hold-up play, the runs, but now it's just getting opportunities and finishing.
Yeah, no doubt. We're getting a look here at the penalty claim where Buxa got into a good spot and might have had a real meaningful attempt at goal. Took it off the chest well, was about to shoot with the left foot. Jaleel Anibaba slides in to make the block, but Johnston, for me, puts two hands on him from behind. One of them pulls him back just a little bit, but he goes like 9 times out of 10, that's called a penalty in real time.
It's a penalty. I saw enough in that it should have been called a penalty in real time.
Right.
Let alone. But
then
you have
video
VR to
review,
look at it,
yeah.
And Johnston didn't touch the ball. So how is it not a penalty if he did not touch the ball, but he made contact with the player?
I have to overrule myself. I said my favorite moment was when we were kidding around about the player getting hit with a soccer ball. My favorite moment was when I heard Bruce Arena say to the fourth, "Help this guy out," referring to the referee in the middle. It's some good patter from the field. What can I say? That's a penalty as we look at that video again, but it wasn't called. It would have made it if the penalty's converted to 2-1 game with still time for the Revs to equalize. So, the week before the Revs got the correct decision in their favor, but Atlanta weren't pleased about it. But so I think in the end, video review, it doesn't look like, right, that's the way it evens out without video review, right? So who needs it? I actually think MLS gets it right more than, say, the English Premier League, but we'll see how things go over the next, 29 games. And 2 of them coming up in rapid succession. And with us now is Revolution assistant coach Richie Williams. First time this year, but certainly not the first time on the show. Richie, how are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Good.
Doing well.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. This is a busy stretch for you guys. I know nobody's happy about the results Saturday, but looking ahead, how do you manage the squad rotation? How do you get the guys to do a quick reset mentally and physically?
Yeah, it's part of professional soccer. It's part of MLS, and obviously with the season starting later, you're going to have more midweek games throughout the season. And again, we feel like we've added better players and more depth to our team, and so we feel confident and comfortable with players that potentially, haven't been in the starting 11 to be able to make changes and bring them into the starting 11 and contributing and doing a good job for us. So obviously getting back on Saturday, doing a regen with the players on Sunday and getting some training in with some of the reserves and then, yet today and then tomorrow getting a group together to go down to Philadelphia and compete. So, they'll be ready, the group that we put on the field. And like you said, we're disappointed with the results this past weekend. But, and we know Philadelphia's a very good team. And obviously they probably haven't forgotten about us knocking them out of the playoffs last year. So we expect another difficult game, and we need to be better also on the day.
Richie, you have one of the most talented Revs team I've ever seen as far as some of the impact players, but the depth. what are some of the biggest challenges moving forward when you're trying to get, all these players the ample playing time to develop, plus, the best performances to kind of vault yourself into being the top dog in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most difficult thing is when you do have depth, is that you're going to be leaving out some players on a weekly basis from playing, and they're out there performing every day in training, competing, and at the end of the day, you can only put 11 on the field. So it's man management with them and making players understand that we have a deep team, we have a bunch of talent, and it is frustrating for some guys to be left out, and that's understandable. But how do they handle that? Away from the field and still supporting the team and waiting for their opportunity to get on the field, whether it's in a reserve role or like we're probably going to make a couple changes on Wednesday, so other players will have opportunities. And now when they do have those opportunities, to go out there and perform.
Richie, when you look at Philadelphia, they had your number in the regular season, but you guys got them in the playoffs when it counted. To what extent, in your mind, each game is different, has a different ebb and flow. Do you feel like, Fontana had that late winner in the September game, and maybe that goes a different way another night? It comes down to a couple moments, or do you feel like it was the kind of thing where it took you guys, building up a body of work to figure out their relative weaknesses, and on the day you got them? Or is it, it comes down to 90 minutes, two teams where you pretty much know what you're getting, and then you just have to make the individual plays in the most important moments?
Yeah, the games last year were all competitive games. They were all very close games throughout the regular season. So we knew a play here or a play there, it could have went the other way, and it could have been a different result. But that's soccer, and that's sport in general. So good teams, and Philadelphia ended up, their record was better than ours. They won the Supporters' Shield. They were a good team, and they found ways to, in close games, get results. And that's something we didn't do in those close games. We weren't able to get a result and until that last game. So we, moving forward, talked about that, last year during the season, and then going into the playoffs, that we have to be the team that, hangs in there during difficult times. When you're playing a team like Philadelphia, even this past weekend against the Nashville team, where they're going to be aggressive, they're going to make it hard on you. Can you hang in the game certain periods of time? And in a close game, you're the one making the play, and not making a mistake to be able to get a result. So that's what good teams know how to do. They know how to win those close games and get results in those close games, and that's something that we continue to talk to our team about if we want to be one of the best teams in the league. And be successful.
Richie, from last year to this year, is there any player in particular that has surprised you with the way they've approached this year, or training, or their mentality? Because I feel like there are a number of players who've made an improvement.
Yeah, I do. I think everybody, every year, everyone's making improvements. Again, I think all the guys have improved. A player for me, the first 3 games of the season, and Matt Polster, I thought it did extremely well the first 3 games of the season. Even this past weekend, I don't know if it was the strongest game. He obviously had a turnover that led to the goal, but those things happen. But I think he's done really well in the center part of the field. Bringing in Martial, who was with our second team and now playing with our first team, doing a great job. But I think Taejong, continues to get better, and I think our center backs are continuing to improve. So everybody, even our attacking group, they're doing a better job, and we still know nothing's finished product yet, right? So we got to continue. It's early in the season. We've had some good results, but we also feel we could be better in most areas of the game, and we're going to continue to try to do that on a weekly basis.
Richie, appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know it's busy right now with games coming fast and furiously, but good insights as always, and good luck Wednesday night.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks,
Richie.
guys. Appreciate it.
Richie Williams, big time, right?
Yeah.
He does, he's not a big time Charlie, but he has the polish of a head coach because he was a head coach, and he'll be a head coach in this league before long. The Bruce Arena coaching tree spreads far and wide. And I talked about it last year, but to me, the idea that somebody like Richie Williams dumps out of a great opportunity at Loudoun United and comes back to be an assistant with Bruce says a lot about the magnetic quality that Bruce has in his orbit.
Right. Yeah. Richie's is a class guy. He's got character. He's worked hard. In his craft. I know he takes the time to make connections to these players and understand their grievances when they have them, and getting people to work towards that goal, right? Because I've been there before when you're not on the field and you feel like you should, and you're plugging away in training and you feel, you want to be starting. Those are difficult conversations to have. It usually falls on the assistant coach. And for Richie Williams, he's the guy that is kind of tasked with having those conversations and building those relationships and getting people to move forward. So it's not an easy job at all. I have a ton of respect for Richie, and I love to see him, doing his job and succeeding. So, we wish him the best as this season unfolds.
Yep. Jeff Lemieux is clearly listening to us and just tweeted out the Richie Williams quote that the Revs are probably going to make a couple changes for Wednesday night's trip to Philly, which, not unexpected, as Jeff notes. How heavily they'll rotate remains to be seen. Charlie, play prognosticator because nobody's going to hold you to it.
Of course. I think we see Teal Bunbury from the start in this one. I wouldn't be surprised. I do think we'll see them go back to that 4-2-3-1 formation in this match as well.
With Bo on the left?
That one remains to be seen. If you give Bo there, or you have Bo come off the bench, or you have him start as the 9, or you have him start as a 10, I think they got to figure that out.
Can he play as the 9 successfully in a 4-2-3-1 where he's got to be the platform, be the guy leading the line? Because Books has been so great in the air, and he's improved with the ball on the ground with his back to goal.
In the right situation and system, yes. But he is not a player that plays well or is relying on him playing with his back to goal. That's not his strength. Gustavo Bo is not, his strength is not, using his back to goal and holding up the ball. And he doesn't have the pace to hurt teams, right, to stretch you either. He's always... That's why typically you catch him offside, because he always feels like he has to cheat because he doesn't have that pace to break through. So the closer he is to goal, the better it is when he does get in behind, because you don't have the time to catch up to him if he has a step or two on you, because he'll shoot from anywhere. So I do believe him playing off a 9 is his best position, whether that is with a 2-striker system. I think in this case, you're going to get the most out of him when he's playing on the wing with a number 9.
Do you think that if Mafla comes in, even though Jones is probably the guy who's going to get down the line a little bit more on the overlap than Mafla, that gives him a little more cover at left back, and so then you can play Bo on the left so that he can then sort of tuck in and sort of be a second forward, and then Mafla can lock down the left side? You might not get as much crossing service, at least not getting to the byline, but then you can have Buchanan or Bunbury on the right, Heel in the middle behind Buksa, Bo on the left, but floating inside, and Mafla protecting behind him.
You also have to take into account how the Union play. They play super narrow, right? And they have 2 strikers. They're super narrow. And the 2 players who get the most touches on their team are their outside backs, just like Nashville. It's going to be Kai Wagner and Bizo. Those 2 players get high. They get involved. They keep the width. So Philadelphia like to jam pack the middle and play off the counter press. That's where that's their bread and butter. That's how they have a lot of success, and they have Andre Blake to bail you out. So with the Revolution, just like last year, stick to that blueprint. You're going to hurt Philadelphia when you force them to come out of the middle. When you have Carlos Gil on the ball and he's drawing Jose Martinez out, Bedoya out, and then you're creating those 1v2 situations, and it's game over once you finish on Andre Blake, if you finish your opportunity. But I'm excited to see this one because they do need this, I think, for a confidence boost and for them to kind of give them vindication for this season.
Also known in the equatorial countries as El Charlie Bowl, because it's 2 of your former teams. Hey, we still have time for maybe one or two more calls if you want to get your words in. 855-728-7500. We're in the final stretch here of an interesting outside the booth in the middle of a busy time. And I also want to preview, we don't know yet, but the show may be moving days just because of schedule considerations. So I don't want to say we're going to be on next Monday. We probably will be, but that remains to be seen. Sometime in June, at least, the date could be shifting, and we will keep you abreast and apprised and informed, et cetera, when that becomes a reality. But I do want to take this moment to thank the people who are making this possible for us every week, including Matt Morrell and Wally Franco, also Tyler Loisel, Bob Doyle, Chuck Costa in engineering at Craft Sports and Entertainment, and the whole Revs digital staff, including Jason Dalrymple, Merrill DeBrezzo and Curtis Burke are awesome on the video side. But Willie Whitelaw is becoming a celebrity in his own right. He's getting interviewed on podcasts. The Revs were number 1 in April for player engagement on Twitter. The Revs won Twitter. The Revs won Twitter.
Killing it.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Yeah. So big ups to the one they call Willie Whitelaw. Let's see. What else do we need to talk? So just to be clear, 7:30 p.m. Revs at Philly, TV 38, MyRI TV, ESPN Plus, although it'll probably be the Philadelphia broadcast on streaming, and then ESPN 2 for the Sunday game at 6 p.m. against defending champs C-Bus. Charlie and I will have the call on the radio. They have excellent announcers on ESPN, but we encourage you to sync up the action with the video and listen.
Absolutely.
Come
to us.
Listen to Chuck and myself. Thanks for the nice words, Sonny. Glad I turned in for the last 10 minutes of the show. Sonny et al., everybody, we do post an archive. You can look at it on all the Revs social channels and also on @RevsTV on Twitter, and you can hear the whole show. All the words of wisdom, the tactical analysis of Chuck, and also hear about my missing cat and Mother's Day too, but mostly soccer talk. That's a quick recap. Richie Williams, we found the cat, T-ball. I saw a great T-ball video from one of my wife's friends where the kid hit extra bases into the power alley, and at first I thought, this is going to be cute and funny because he did like a little loop around the pitcher's mound instead of running the bases. But then he goes back to home plate and touches all 4 bases. And what he was doing is he was just throwing shade on the pitcher. He did like a little, it's like the equivalent of doing the fat kid move in soccer where you kick it to the outside, run to the inside, or vice versa. He did it. He buzzed the tower of the quote-unquote pitcher and then ran the base. He's like, I hit that so far, I'm going to do an extra lap and just give you, hard time. It was great. I wish Rex Chapman should have tweeted out. I'm gonna try to get that to him. It's good stuff.
Yep.
All right. So if I'm talking about that, it means time to wrap the show. That means we've exhausted our subject matter for the day. Charlie, great stuff.
It's a pleasure.
Look forward to doing another game. Not as early. I'll get a good night's sleep, and we'll be on our A game Wednesday for the Philly match. Thanks to everybody who contributed questions. Thanks to Richie Williams. And we will talk to you next time on Outside the Booth. See ya.
This has been Outside the Booth.
Put it to bed, New England. What about